After years of doing videos and talking about current events, of course as a Christian, it still ceases to amaze me how people can be so blinded. Well, today's video we're going to talk just about that. Not just the fact of the Israel-Gaza situation, because I think it's so much bigger than that. I said it yesterday, it's a spiritual battle. I truly believe that. I'm not saying good versus evil just on one side or the other. I'm saying the fact that it's so much bigger than what we're actually seeing just on this small Gaza Strip. Today we're going to talk about polarization. We're going to talk about how big business, colleges, big organizations, the people you've given money to, what's their stance on this and how it should impact you and how you should spend your money, how you should think about this, and how you may not can trust any sources because it's all bias, of course. But we're going to talk about just that and how we have to weave and navigate through all the stories today. Let's jump into it. This video is going to be good and it starts right now.
It really makes me wonder. Yeah, it makes me wonder.
So, you know, I said yesterday that this is bigger than just a good versus evil or a terrorist attack in Israel. I believe it's really a spiritual battle. Now, in the spiritual sense, I'm a Christian. I believe in conservatism, and I believe that Jerusalem and Israel and that area will always be in turmoil. I don't believe we're going to do anything to solve that because I believe it's so much bigger than just world good versus evil powers. I really do. But there's still to a point where there has to be peace, there has to be safety for the people that live in all these areas. But today we're going to actually just dive in a little deeper. We're going to see the fact that there's so many situations where people, even in our country, who are backing this terrorist organization. Can you imagine any other national state or national country or place in the world that gets attacked and all of a sudden we say, well, we're with the terrorist? No, that's unbelievable. And so therefore we build a polarization even in our nation to where it's going to cause more turmoil, more upheaval, and it's happening all across the globe. And it's going to affect the next few steps that's going to happen in Israel. I believe we're going to see a bigger escalation, not for any reason other than the fact that no one's finding truth anymore, and the polarization is going to make more and more and more escalation in one little spot called Israel. Before we get into the content, let's talk about today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Ground News. Ground News has probably become my favorite app to reference when I'm talking about news and current events. Ground News puts all these different sources in one location. It gives me top stories, ones that are reported by the left and right, and also the skewed biases in those reports. So we go into the search app, and I typed in Donald Trump. I want to see what stories are about Donald Trump. That's a good thing because you can use the search engine and find exactly the topic that you're wanting to research, and bam, it pulls up everything that's relevant to whatever you're searching. So let's go to this story here. It says, Trump, Israel attack results in U.S. being seen as weak. In this article, it shows that there has been 58% reports of it being right-leaning. 17% of the reports are left-leaning, which means it probably benefits Trump and the right a little bit more than it does the left. The Daily Beast has a left-leaning mixed factuality. It says Donald Trump blames Biden for Hamas attack. Now say I want to read a little bit more on the right side of this article. Here's one article of the same topic. Trump calls the attack disgrace, blames Biden for the Iran cash. But it says mixed factuality, but it says it's right-leaning, so it's a little bit more opinionated there. Think about all the news sources you go to. Not one other news source will show you their biases. I think that is the coolest thing about Ground News. That way you're getting the best summary on what you're reading, and that way you know exactly what side of the aisle it's coming from. I have a link in the description to Ground News. It's going to give you 30% off unlimited access for this month. Ground.news/themax. Ground.news/themax. See through the media bias, know where your news is coming from, know which side of the aisle it's coming from, and that helps you build a better sense of the information that you're looking for and knowing you're getting the right information. Ground.news/themax. Check them out. It's only $5 a month. It is money well spent. Now, the reason I wanted to do that, sponsor, is because that's exactly what we have to do. We have to go through the information and try to find the best sources when it comes to news. So a lot of the stories that we're talking about today, I have to go through and say, okay, what is the biases? What is the skew here? Why do these people feel like this? Why are these stories leaning towards Israel, or leaning towards Hamas, or leaning towards the Middle East? So ground news does help that. First, let's talk about the Middle East in general. Well, we see bombing coming from Syria. We see that Hezbollah in Lebanon is stating that they're going to push against Israel as well. So now we have Gaza area, the Hamas area, that has been supported by Iran, and that is already came out that Iran is saying, yes, we're glad that Hamas did that. So that shows they're supportive of this Palestinian state and Hamas, this terrorist organization that bombed Israel. Again, I told you they were just a pawn, because Hamas cannot do enough damage to Israel, and also now people are mad that Israel's going back in to get Hamas. Well, you make a hard bed, you got to sleep in it. So Hamas is a pawn, but you see Iran saying that they're going to support Hamas. You see Hezbollah and the Syrian border now actually bringing more offensives towards Israel. And again, the West Bank and all that area has always been very polarized. So therefore, they're going to be battled on all fronts. Well, why do we see so many people saying Israel doesn't have the right to defend themselves? Well, the Middle East, we know, does not like Israel. So they're all in agreement that the Israelites should not be there and that they should be taken out. So it's amazing that they're saying death to Israel, and however, you still have people saying Israel's wrong. The UN came out and stated that Israel should not be in Gaza. It's not Gaza, it's not Israel's position to do anything other than make a truce. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why do we give the UN any talking credentials? Why do we even listen to them? Why are we even funding them? Again, a lot of these things America funds, but then all of a sudden they actually speak against a lot of the things that America actually stands for, quote unquote stands for. Why do we even worry what the UN says? However, the UN is pushing against Israel. Our government says they stand with Israel. However, they're not holding the $6 billion and freezing that money back from Iran, even though Iran has come out and said they're going to keep on supporting Hamas. Did you know Iran has made an illegal $80 billion in oil sales that they should not be doing? And again, America does nothing about it. But then we want to, we want to complain, but we actually just give them more billions to then turn around and invest to really hurt Israel. We have the Middle East, we have UN both pushing, of course, for a pro-Palestinian push, and also the fact that Israel is quote-unquote in the wrong, which is unbelievable. They were attacked. Any country would do the same thing. Let's talk about the polarization here in America, and how in the world are we allowing this to happen? Now, I see Biden and them coming out and saying they're going to support Israel, and we're moving ships over there. Again, I don't think we need war, but you should support someone who just dealt with terrorism. So anything they need, they can buy from us, and we want to support them. However, in our own country, there's division there. We have congressmen like Tlaib and Omar that are stating that they're actually not in favor of Israel. They're part of elected officials for America, and they're standing beside the terrorist. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Should we now deem them a hate group? I mean, you deem MAGA supporters hate groups. However, the BLM is coming against Israel. They're standing with Palestinians and Hamas for bombing into Israel. Does that not blow you away? A group that's supposed to be pushing against hate, a group that's supposed to be pushing against a radical racial sect, and then all of a sudden they're standing up to eradicate a group of individuals. Isn't that very oxymoronic? Isn't that amazing that we allowed this to happen? BLM is writing big pro-Palestinian pushes. The LGBT is standing with pro-Palestinian pushes. Actually, if they would go over there and realize that they would actually be persecuted if they went to all these Middle Eastern countries and these Arab countries and these Muslim countries. It's amazing to me how blinded and absolutely foolish some of these individuals are. But again, our government's not doing anything. They're not on any kind of watch list like the MAGA supporters. They're not being persecuted. Look at Dearborn, Michigan. They're having rallies in support of Hamas. Where's the outrage there? Where's your Governor Whitmer? All of a sudden she was, supposedly in this hate crime situation a few years back with some white guys, but now she's allowing pro-Hamas movements to happen right there in Dearborn. We've lost our way. And that's why I say this is way bigger than just some war, good versus evil. This is a spiritual battle, because this is a situation where you have Christians, Israelis, Jews, and then of course Muslims. You're going to have a spiritual battle that you're not going to be able to fix here when it comes to giving money or giving support. It's not going to get better. It's really not. I think we're going to see more deterioration because it's becoming way bigger than just, well, it's about oil, or well, it's just about money. It's not about any of that. It's the land, the spiritual land that is tied to so many different heritages and religions that it's going to keep on having major influx and problems. We saw a few celebrities come out in support of Israel, but guess what? They've all taken them down. The biggest celebrities are not supporting Israel anymore. They're just shutting their mouth. They're too scared to talk. It's amazing that most of them want to be activists, but when it comes to real, true issues of standing up for people, they're not doing it. There's a story that I read that the top influencers when it comes to Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all these platforms, all of them are scared to death to say I support Israel. The ones that have, they've taken their post down. And so what they do is they do generic. They're almost like Biden. They just say, well, this is bad. No one should cause death and terrorists shouldn't happen. And they're very vague because they're scared of being a true influencer, to be an activist, to say this is wrong. However, again, we're allowing groups like in Dearborn and Harvard and places like that where our schools are saying they're okay with this Hamas attack on Israel. But again, FBI is not worried about them. They're worried about the grandma from the Capitol. It's a topsy-turvy situation, and we're not going to make it better, even though we want to try. Even though we get on here and we talk and we can talk till we're blue in the face. I don't believe that any wisdom or any common sense is going to impact people to change their minds about Israel. Truly, what is America going to do? We ride ships over there, we sell things for war, but when it comes down to it, do y'all realize how many people Hamas killed that was just not even Israelis? They were Americans, they were Chinese, there was two Chinese individuals over there. There's been several other countries affected by this, but everybody is so scared to actually say what it is. It's terrorism, and it should not happen in a sovereign nation. We want to tiptoe around the issues, and it's all because it's not just a simple war. It's a spiritual battle. All around the world, there are stories that showing Muslims chanting, "Gas the Jews." Gas the Jews? That's hate. What other group would get away with that? If Christians started a big push where they wanted to, eradicate a certain amount of people, or Jews started wanting to eradicate a certain amount of people, if those chants started coming out, they would be ostracized and they would be shut down. But we allow the Muslims to say this and say pro-Palestinian or pro-Hamas movements to eradicate a certain group of people. Why are we allowing it? We as a nation, we as a world are allowing this polarization and also this radicalization actually happen. It's going to make more problems for Israel. Not only Israel, it's going to make more problems for our own areas here. See Starbucks union backed pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian attacks. A union group for Starbucks. Your coffee's worried about it. Harvard has pro-Palestinian pushes. It's amazing. We're seeing way more than just, well, we want to see a good versus evil. We're seeing evil stand up with terrorism. People are saying that they're supporting terrorists. When does that ever happen truly in our history in the world? So here's the solution. I want to see true leadership. I want to see true men, true leaderships. Forget the politicians. Quit talking about war, quit talking about all of it, and say, look, no matter what Israel is doing, they're protecting their sovereign nation, they're protecting their people. Americans should have protected the 10 people that we lost. Our intelligence should have caught this. I mean, we have intelligence all across the world. What do we have CIA for? They're there to protect individuals across the world, the Americans across the world. One of our biggest allies, and we allowed it to slip through. But you know what we need now? Leadership. You need Biden, and you need some of these Democrats, and especially Republicans and conservatives, talk about BLM and how they're standing with Hamas and the Palestinian people after a terrorist attack. There's been no Trump supporter, no MAGA supporter ever push terrorism. You can't find it. They're not coming out saying they wish everybody would be eradicated. That's absolutely crazy. We need to see Harvard take a stance, and all these colleges, if they're preaching that kind of indoctrination and they're doing polarization like this and they're pushing terrorists, they need to shut them down. Government needs to pull those subsidies back, pull those endowments back. You need to see true support for peace. And not just the fact of, do you support Israel or not? It's the fact that you're supporting a terrorist group. When you see people supporting terrorists, like these Muslims coming out in Dearborn, supporting Hamas, Starbucks unions supporting Hamas, it's unbelievable to me. And that should show you more than anything, this is way more than just a good versus evil. This is a spiritual battle that's going to push us into World War III. It's going to cause more implosions of more nations because you're going to see a division based on all this true hate for the Israeli people and anybody that supports it. You're not going to have peace in the Middle East. You never will, because it's tied to so much history dealing with religion. So I don't believe you'll ever have peace, but you've got to have men right now, leaders, true leaders, proven leaders, stand up and quit beating around the bush, call out the evil, call out the terrorist, and call out the fact that Israel's sovereign and they can choose to do what they want. Should they allow women and children out? Absolutely. No one should be bombing women and children. However, if the terrorist group is using them as shields, what do? I believe we're going to see an escalation. And I'm scared to say that I'm worried about my kids having to go over there. I'm worried about the draft. I'm worried about the fact that we have no money in America, and all of a sudden here we are getting into another battle. We are so confused as a culture and as a country and as a world that we're supporting terrorists. We don't know what's good anymore. So my challenge to you is hold your leaders accountable. Make sure your leaders are being leaders. I believe now we have leaders that are just followers and politicians, and they don't know how to lead anymore. And it's like colleges, Starbucks, all these businesses that are not standing against this, BLM, quit supporting those groups. Call them out. I want to see true leaders call out groups like BLM and say, you know what? This is ridiculous that you're standing alongside them. You need to see Democrats, Biden, you need to see Obama, you need to see true leaders. If they're true leaders, they'll stand against the wrongs that's happening right in America. They would call the fact the pro-Hamas rallies all across America, all across UK, they'd call them out. Australia, pro-Hamas rallies. What the liberals and the Democrats will say, well, that's just freedom of speech. However, they will arrest all the MAGA grandmas. We are upside down, people. And until we realize that this is not just about a good versus evil, this is not just another war, that's not going to de-escalate, that's only going to escalate, because it's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. Russia, Ukraine, they're going to have to pick sides in this. And therefore, you're going to build these true axis of powers, and then all of a sudden you're looking at the spark of a world war again, right in the Middle East. All because, and I go back to say this, all because we have weak leadership. We have a weak president. And if America looked stronger, I believe you wouldn't see any of this. It would have been handled. Love him or hate him with Trump, you didn't have this kind of stuff under the Trump administration. So I don't care how you feel about Trump, but your safety, you should say, you know what, no matter who was president, at least I didn't have to deal with this kind of stuff. Do your research. Look at these stories, check out ground news, and see the fact that, you know, who's standing with Israel, who's standing against Israel. Say you don't have opinion on the war, that's okay. Who's standing with terrorist organizations? Who's siding with terrorist organizations? That's wrong, no matter which way you look at it. If anything, stand with peace. I hope there's more Democrats and left to say, you know what, we're not going to allow this to happen. We can't allow people to say it's okay to be terrorist. Until we have stronger leaders and people who are willing to stand on principles, no matter what party they're part of, until we understand this is a bigger spiritual battle, I don't think we'll ever get to peace. I don't believe we're going to see peace, but we have to look at something kind of like the Abraham Accords, where we're saying, okay, we're not going to live in peace, but we've got to get to the point where we quit killing people. And it's amazing that there's people in America that's standing up saying they want this Hamas push and this pro-Palestinian push that's actually killing people, killing babies, and causing issues in Israel. Sorry for the rant today. It really had no purpose other than I cannot believe that there's not more influencers, there's not Democratic leaders, there's Starbucks and Harvard and all these cities that's allowing Hamas pro-terrorist pushes and campaigns, and pushing to see a group of individuals get hurt or die or suffer. And our FBI is not watching it. Our CIA is not watching it. However, they're again arresting the grandmas for something that happened 3 years ago that had really no impact of people dying. There was more Americans dying in Israel than happened back in January. More people died in Israel, that's American citizens, just this last week, that nobody's talking about, that America's not pushing for, than what actually happened back in January a few years back. What are we doing? We need leaders. We need very strong leaders to say, you know what? It's time to put our big boy pants on and realize this is a bigger battle than we're really ready for, but this is what we must do. And we must stand for sovereignties of countries. We must stand for freedom, and we must push back against terrorism. And if eradication comes for one group of people, it should be for the terrorists that caused issues in any country. That's what we should be pushing for. Guys, let me know what you think. Sorry I'm all over the place, because to be honest with you, I'm just passionate about it, because I believe this is way bigger than just some good versus evil, some just simple war over land, over money, over oil. It's spiritual. And until we realize that, I don't think none of us will build a wise approach and a common sense approach to how to fix it. There may not be a solution, but we've got to start working towards it, and it's going to take true leaders, not weak men like we got right now. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think. Am I wrong? Am I right? Should I shut up about my rant? Try to build a common sense approach. Look at places like Ground News, so that way you get true biases there, and you'll know exactly how you can build a wise decision based on what you should be thinking about for your family and the safety of your family, and how to approach every day that you wake up. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless. Happy Homestead.
Ooh, it makes me wonder.